In previous lecture, we saw some important points about sergeant and two policemen. Now we will see next point, page number 142. Sergeant says, "You know him came back here. What sort is he?" Man says, "Come back, is it? Sergeant, do you want to have me killed?" Sergeant says, "Why do you say that?" Man says, "Never mind, I am going. I wouldn't be in your shoes if the reward was 10 times as much." In bracket, goes on up stage to left. Not if it was 10 times as much. Sergeant says, in bracket, rising, rushing, rushing after him. Come back, him. Come back. In bracket, drags him back. What sort is he? Where did you see him? Man says, "I saw him in my own place in the county clear. I tell you, you wouldn't like to be looking at him. You would be afraid to be in the one place with him. There is not a weapon he doesn't know the use of, and as to strength, his muscles are as hard as that board in bracket slab's barrel." Sergeant says, "Is he as bad as that?" Man says, "He is then." Sergeant says, "Do you tell me so?" Man says, "There was a poor man in our place, a sergeant from Balwan. It was Ballyvahan. It was with a lump of stone he did it." Sergeant, "I never heard of that," man says. "And you wouldn't, Sergeant. It is not everything that happens gets into the papers. And there was a policeman in plain clothes too. It is in Limerick he was. It was after the time of the attack on the police barrack. Barrack means the main army barracks at Kilmallock. Moonlight, just like this waterside, and nothing was known for certain." Sergeant says that, "Do you say so? It is terrible county to belong to." In this paragraph, In this paragraph, the ragged man then goes on to tell him that he saw the wanted man in country. The ragged man says that he is dangerous man. Sergeant says he has not heard of such an incident. The ragged man explains that the newspaper had not reported it. In the town there was once an attack on the police barracks on a moonlight night. The man tells the sergeant that the nationalists kidnapped a policeman from the barracks, and nothing has been heard of him ever since. The sergeant says that it was terrible. Now we will see next paragraph. Man says, "That is so. Indeed, you might be standing there looking out that way, thinking you saw him coming up the sides of the key in bracket points, and he might be coming up this other side in bracket points, and he would be on you before you knew where you were." Sergeant says, "It is a whole troop of police. They ought to put here to stop a man like that." Man says, "But if would like me to stop with you. I could be looking down the sides. I could be sitting up here on this barrel. In this paragraph, it is difficult for the policeman to capture him. He will be upon the sergeant before he knew where he was. The sergeant said that a whole troop of police ought to be put there. The man offers to help the sergeant by sitting on the barrel and keeping an eye on that side of the harbor. The sergeant accepts his offer, and the man does not want share the reward. Reward means gift. Now we will see next paragraph, page number 143. Sergeant says, and you know him well too. Man, I would know him a mile of sergeant. Sergeant says, but you wouldn't want to share the rewards. Man says, is it a poor man like me that has to be going the roads and singing in fears? To have the name on him that he took a rewards, but you don't want me. I will be supper in the town. Sergeant says, well, you can stop. Man says, in bracket, getting up on barrel. All right, Sergeant, I wonder, now you are not tired out. Sergeant walking up and down the way you are. Sergeant says, if I am tired, I am used to it. Man says, you might have hard work before you tonight yet. Take it easy while you can. There is a plenty of room up here on the barrel, and you see farther when you are higher up. Sergeant says, maybe so, in bracket, gets up beside him on barrel. Facing rights, they sit back to back, looking different ways. You made me feel a bit queer with the way you talk. Man says, give me a match, sergeant. In bracket, he gives it, and man, light pipe, take a draw yourself. It will quiet you. Wait now till I give you a light, but you needn't. Turns round, don't take your eyes off key for the life of you. In this paragraph, the two persons sit on the barrels and the conversations continues as they keep one eyes on the water. The man asks for a match to light his pipe, and the sergeant obliges him and lights his own pipe. The sergeant says it is a hard thing to be a policeman. Policemen have to face the criticism of the people and have no choice but to obey this order. People do not know how married. Next paragraph. Sergeant says, never fear, I want, in bracket, light pipe. They both smoke. Indeed, it is a hard thing to be in the force, or out at night, and no thanks for it, for all the dangers we are in. And it is a little we get, but abuse from the peoples, and no choice but to obey our orders, and never ask when a man is sent into danger. If you are a married man with a family, man says, in bracket, sings, as through the hills I walk to view the hills and Shamrock plain. I stood a while where nature smiled to view the rocks and streams. On the matron piers I fix my eyes beneath a fertile vale. As she songs her song, it was on the rung of poor old granule. Sergeant says, stop that. That is no song to be singing in this times. In this paragraph, policemen have to face the criticism of the people and have no choice but to obey their order. People do not know how married policemen feel when they are sent on dangerous mission. The man then sings a sweet songs about a famous Irish folklore. The sergeant asks him to stop singing the song because it is unsuitable to the times. That means this is not perfect times. Now we will see next paragraph. Page number 144. Man says, "Ah, sergeant, I was only singing to keep my heart up. It sings when I think of him, to think of us two sitting here and he creeping up the key, maybe to get to us." Sergeant says, "Are you keeping a good lookout?" Man says, "I am, and for no reward too. Am I the foolish man? But when I saw a man in trouble, I never could help trying to get him out of it. What is that? Did something hit me?" In bracket, rubs his hurt. Sergeant says, in bracket, patting him on the shoulder. "You will get your rewards in heaven." Man says, I know that, sergeant, but life is precious." Sergeant says that, "Well, you can sing if it gives you more courage." Man says, sings. Her head was bare, her hands and feet with iron bands were bound. Her pensive strain and plaintive wail mingled with the evening gale, and the song she sang with mournful ear, "I am old granule." Her lips so sweet that monarch kiss. Sergeant, that is not it. Her gown she wore was stained with gore. "That is it, you miss that." Man says, "You are right, sergeant, so it is, I miss it." In bracket, repeats line. "But to think of a man like you knowing a song like that." Sergeant says, "There is a man, a things a man might know and might not have any wish for." Man says, "Now I dare say, sergeant, in your youth you used to be sitting you up on a wall, the way you are sitting up on this barrel now, and the other lads beside you, and you singing granule." Sergeant says, "I did then." Man says, "And the shan shan bien balked." Sergeant says, "I did then." Man says, "And the green won the cape." In this paragraph, now the man pretends that something has hit him and he rubs his hurt. The sergeant tells him that he will get his reward, means gift, in heaven, and the man replies that life is precious, means great. Then he resumes the singing about the wrongs that the foreigners have done to Moth Island. The sergeant tells him that he had missed a line about Mother Island, blood-stains ground. The man feels very happy. He knows that this is a patriotic ballad. Ballads means patriotic song. He reminds the sergeant that as a good man he must have sung that ballads with his friends. He must have sung other ballads like Shan Bien Bocht and Green on the Cave. Now we will see next point tomorrow.